A startup claims it can build you a custom home faster than you can get a mortgage, using software and unskilled labor, not carpenters. America is short at least 4 million homes, and construction costs are 70% labor. Every prefab company that tried before failed spectacularly. But could this new approach actually solve the housing crisis, or is it destined for the same graveyard? Alexander Gampel stands by a promise that sounds almost impossible. A custom home tailored to your needs, finished in just 45 days. Not a prefab box, but a house designed online, delivered to your lot, and assembled by a team of 4 unskilled workers. The ambition is clear: replace the endless delays, the army of subcontractors, and the months-long waits that define American home building. Gampel describes his vision as a factory that can be copied and pasted anywhere, with each mobile micro-factory producing homes at a pace that traditional builders cannot touch. But the scale of the challenge is staggering. The United States is short at least 1.2 million homes by conservative estimates, with some studies putting the gap closer to 4 million when you count years of underbuilding and hidden demand. The median price for a single-family home has hovered around $420,000, double what it was a decade ago. For many young adults, the idea of owning a home feels out of reach. Household formation among 25 to 40-year-olds has stalled, as more people delay moving out, getting married, or starting families. This is not just a housing shortage, it is a system that locks out an entire generation from building wealth. Every missing home represents another family priced out, another future put on hold. Gampel's 45-day promise is not just about speed. It is an attempt to break the cycle that keeps the dream of homeownership just out of reach for millions. The question is whether a new kind of factory and a new kind of builder can actually deliver on that promise at the scale America needs. Labor costs dominate the price of every new home in America. According to the National Association of Home Builders, nearly 70% of construction costs go directly to labor, most of it skilled trades like framing, plumbing, and electrical. That is not just a matter of wages, it is the ripple effect of managing 20 or more subcontractors, each waiting for the last to finish, each bringing their own delays and markups. Since the 1970s, construction productivity has actually dropped by 45%, while industries like manufacturing have become 4 times more efficient. The job site remains stubbornly manual, with little automation and a shrinking pool of workers. The median construction worker is now over 42 years old, and nearly a quarter are nearing retirement age. For every skilled carpenter or electrician leaving the field, there is almost no one coming in behind them. Attempts to solve this through prefabrication have failed again and again. The logic seemed sound: build homes in a factory, then ship them out ready to assemble. But the reality was brutal. Moving giant modules across states drove up shipping costs, sometimes adding 15 to 25% to the budget before a wall was even raised. On-site assembly still required skilled labor, and the savings vanished in transit and rework. Katerra, once the most ambitious prefab startup, raised billions and promised to reinvent construction. In the end, centralized factories could not overcome the cost of moving buildings hundreds of miles, or the complexity of last-mile installation. Bankruptcy followed, joining a long list of modular dreams that never scaled. A former prefab CEO put it simply: "We thought we were building houses. We were really building a logistics problem." The lesson is clear. Shipping homes does not break the labor bottleneck, it just moves it around. If labor is the lever, the solution has to change the mechanics entirely. The core of QB's approach is a mobile microfactory, a production node that arrives on a slab of concrete and in just 90 days transforms into a functioning assembly line for homes. Instead of a permanent facility, This factory is engineered to be set up, commissioned, and running with astonishing speed. Within 3 months, it can begin turning out kit of parts home packages for delivery to a radius of 150 miles. The logistics are streamlined, and instead of shipping massive modules across the country, the microfactory ships only compact, palletized components, drastically reducing transport costs and headaches. The entire operation runs on a crew model that flips the traditional script. 4 unskilled workers, guided by digital instructions, handle assembly on site. There's no need for specialized trades, no electricians, framers, or finish carpenters cycling through in waves. Each task is broken down into micro steps, verified in sequence, making the process both repeatable and scalable. This is not just a matter of swapping out tools, but a system that compresses months of project management into a tightly controlled workflow. Behind this repeatability lies a staggering engineering effort. Over 400,000 hours have been invested in designing not just the homes, but the factory itself. Every machine, every jig, every software routine has been built from the ground up to make local rapid deployment possible. The goal is to turn the factory into a product, a template that can be copied, shipped, and set up wherever demand exists. As one lead engineer says, we are not just building houses, we are building the ability to build houses anywhere. The payoff is not just in speed or logistics. By localizing production and relying on unskilled labor, the microfactory model eliminates the bottlenecks that have stifled prefab housing for decades. The path is clear for a new cost structure, one that will be put to the test in the economics of the next segment. A single number sits at the center of QB's pitch: $100 per square foot. In an industry where traditional builds routinely land between $200 and $300 per square foot, and that is with compromises on quality, the promise to cut that figure by half or more stands out. QB's chief financial officer lays out the math. Even in the most challenging scenario, with a prototype factory in Eastern Europe, shipping kits across the Atlantic, and relying on local contractors for assembly, the total landed costs still beat each of 6 bids from general contractors in Nevada. None could touch the price, the timeline, or even match the material quality. The breakthrough comes from flipping the labor equation, with micro factories producing standardized kits locally and removing the need for skilled trades. The savings are immediate and dramatic. Materials that usually get downgraded to save money, triple pane windows, steel frames, and high-performance insulation, suddenly fit inside the budget. Every dollar not spent on specialized labor goes straight into better components. The result is not just a cheaper home. It is one that is quieter, more energy efficient, and built to last. Scaling the model is a numbers game. Each microfactory, once up and running, targets around 200 homes per year. The so-called Papa factory in China is set up to mass produce 4 microfactories a year, each ready to deploy in a new region. The 10-year plan calls for 275 microfactories, together producing up to 55,000 homes a year. Yet even at full capacity, that is less than 2% of what the U.S. needs to close the housing gap. The opportunity is enormous, but the challenge, matching pace with demand and adapting to local rules, remains just as daunting. Permitting a new home in America can mean navigating a maze of local rules, sometimes hundreds of pages for a single town. In one Nevada suburb, a QB microfactory faced setback requirements that forced 3 redesigns before a permit was even considered. Multiply that by 26,000 unique zoning codes nationwide, and every project becomes a test of patience and persistence. Yet inside one of these homes, a family who once spent half their income on rent now sees their energy bills cut by 1/3. For Alexander Gample, whose own childhood was shaped by the promise of a better life, each completed home is more than a home. It is a chance to deliver comfort, stability, and hope where it is needed most. Union officials warn that eliminating skilled trades could trigger organized resistance, especially if job losses climb. A former prefab executive points to the risk of quality slipping as factories ramp up, urging strict defect thresholds. No more than 5 warranty claims per 100 homes is considered the ceiling. An independent analyst flags capital burn as a red flag if costs per home rise more than 10% over target, or if the first 200 homes take longer than 6 months. The board may be forced to halt expansion. These are the lines in the sand, metrics that must be met, or the entire model is in question. No single company can erase a 4 million home gap or rewrite 26,000 zoning codes overnight. But every new approach tests what is possible and it exposes what is broken. Today's housing crisis is an open invitation. Innovate, adapt, or accept a future where home ownership slips further out of reach.